Late Light Club, episode 3. Patreon.com/Taylor Durden. You catch all the exclusive content, the subscription-based paywall content there. Got my life story on there, my audio biography. Got, I think, almost 200 lives now that have not been publicly posted on there. So patreon.com/Taylor Durden. For those, it's $5 a month. You're getting at least 5 hours of content a month on that Patreon, and that content will be more so on the weekends. My weekend will be Sunday and Monday, so I'll be doing this show, like I said, from Tuesday to Saturday, and then Sunday and Monday will be like co-hosted with other people, and then just my own. Whatever it is. I was thinking about doing like I Ching readings and spicing it up. I was talking to somebody, about it, like, different ideas, playing a little volleyball with some ideas, and should be cool, man, in the coming weeks as far as content is concerned. So thoughts on Zherka? I don't know. I'm gonna have to see real quick. What is Zherka? Oh, yeah, I don't know this person. Anybody born that late, I don't really know, bro. You gotta realize my mom is a early 50s baby, and then my brother is 7 years older. I don't even listen. I don't even know people that's like contemporaries with me. They're born in 94. But to me, that's still young. My brother's born in 83. That's more late 70s, early 80s people are the people that are like, and early 70s people too. But those are the people that like, I've kept up with in my lifetime. I don't really know my contemporaries and younger. I definitely don't know. So, yeah, I guess we'll get into some basic news. The typical news for the day. The daily dose, the nightly dose, the nightcap, or the night starter. It's just like you just got off work and you having a starter at 10:30 West Coast time. 1:30 East Coast time, but at the same time, what is it? It's 6:30 in the morning Central European time. So shout out to y'all on the early morning joint. But anyway, today, October 30th, New York Governor Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency over SNAP funding. It's the second governor to declare a state of emergency over the SNAP funding. And then there's a federal judge in Boston that said that she was going to maybe try to force the Trump administration to use the emergency funds to keep the benefits flowing. That's Judge Indira Taiwani. Who appointed this judge? That's what I do want to know. And I want to know which level of federal judge this even is. Because it costs about $8 billion per month for SNAP benefits to keep going, right? So, you think about it, if somebody really wanted to, it's the most billionaires in the world are in America. It probably wouldn't even take that many billionaires to get together to chip in to just perpetuate SNAP for a month. And they would probably get crazy pub off of it. It would probably, end up being like a break-even charity situation. I don't see why that's not happening. It's kind of letting you know how evil motherfuckers with money really are, though, at the same time. They're not collectivized. I know like there's people with tens of billions, but again, it's a debt-based society. It's like so much is caught up in assets and stock and stuff. Like when Elon bought Twitter, it's not like he just like was like, yo, I got 70 billion to just throw at you. He still had to leverage it with loans and stocks. It's not like he has the money like on deck. It's like it's like he's estimated at a certain, if you appraised him like a house, it's like, yo, this house is probably somewhere in this range is what it's worth. And it's all speculative anyway, you know what I mean? So, people don't generally actually have the money. It's just like which their projected wealth actually is. If they were to cash everything out today, like what they call the market cap, the value of all the stock right now, if it was all sold right now, but as soon as it starts being sold, that changes the market immediately. So it sends a signal into the market. If you just sold, if somebody had a massive company or they had a lot of stock in something and they just began to sell everything all at once, it would influence the market immediately. And it's not like every share of the stock will go for the same rate, because every time they get bought or sold, it changes the market. So it's like a projected mythical number, like as far as people's net worth and their value. So I mean, it's not like people can just throw $8 billion into the coffers and be like, look, keep food stamps going for a month. It would probably take like a few billionaires getting together, and they would have to like get together with banks and like leverage, somehow leverage their assets to get the $8 billion, put the $8 billion up in a way that they would, get paid back or something, you know what I mean? And break even and look like heroes, you know what I mean? But they're not even doing that. So it lets you know, it's like, nobody really give a fuck, you know what I mean? And at the same time, you really don't know how much they get bullied. They might not even be allowed to do that type of shit. But let me see who this judge is, man, that said that, she's trying to bring back the SNAP benefit, trying to force emergency funds that gets dispersed so that people can get their food stamps. Indira Talwani. Nominated 2013, confirmed by the Senate 2014. So she was appointed by Obama. Okay, she's a liberal judge in all likelihood. Let's see. Where is her family from? Oh, she's Indian. Indian and German. Okay, here we go. Random. But either way, you got a liberal, multinational individual. It just seems like more like political football. Somebody out there trying to stick their neck out there, trying to make a name for themselves and seem cool and shit. I mean, what level? What district? What level judge is she? She's a district judge of Massachusetts. Yeah, I mean, there are 94 districts in across the U.S., so she's just one judge. Anything she gonna have to, all that shit would have to go up the ladder, up the flagpole of the Supreme Court. And the amount of time it would take to go through that litigation, bro. We're gonna reach this deadline on the 1st, and that's just what's gonna happen. I mean, again, this is just more politics. Somebody want to just seem cool and shit. But yeah, that's it, man. But anyway, yeah, I seen the person that asked me about that blogger or whatever. They're on Twitch and shit. I was thinking about getting on Twitch and Substack and the other ones. I was thinking like, man, I guess I have to if I really want to dwell in this world. Get on Twitch and Substack and fucking all the bullshit. You know what I mean? Just to be in there. I was thinking about, what's the one called? School or whatever. I was thinking about being on there because I got a lot of shit I could just upload and I don't really have to make new content. But yeah, I guess that's like the news on the breakdown of society in a sense. You know what I mean? So I think that's a nice way to start the day. Of course, Trump was in South Korea today meeting with the dictator of China, Xi Jinping. And, just was, when it comes to this shit, he really has become a really good politician in that sense. Like, and I don't mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in an endearing way. I feel like he's really become pretty much everything he condemned, and I guess that's what everybody does if they're not careful. But so they met at the APEC summit in Busan, South Korea, right? And hey, of course they're gonna have like a circle jerk session or whatever, you know what I mean? Act like shit is smooth. And they gave India some sanction waivers, and they agreed to reduce the tariffs on China 10% from 57% to 47% for 1 year. And that's probably, again, like I said in the last video, it's for the midterms. Most of what he be doing or what any politician does, they're trying to get reelected or get their people elected so that when they do get out of office, there's nobody there to come down on them for their crimes, or, they can just use them as a, kind of as a means to get kickbacks or to lobby against them, get things that they want from the private sector once they're done politics. So, Yeah. And then I guess in international news, I really don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to a lot of international news. But I mean, they had an election. They had elections in the Netherlands, the Dutch elections, and the guy's name is Gert. It's hilarious, right? Anybody that knows about that Theo Von joke, the guy, the president, his name is Gert. It's fucking hysterical. But he's getting destroyed right now because he was like the Trump of the Netherlands, but then obviously, you know, the downside of that is that he's super Israeli'd out. So like nobody wants that. You know what I mean? Especially in those type of places. It's funny how like places like that, it's like how it could go either way. Like how you can have like the white guilt or the supposed white guilt could go like either way. Like where you could have like Germans, they were so guilty for being German for so long, they were so like ashamed of the Jewish situation and all of that, right? But then they imported so many Muslims that it's like such a, you know, Turkish Syrian vibe there now, that a lot of them have grown up and they automatically going to sympathize with Palestine. So it's like the same thing with across Europe, because they're not having babies, they just having importations of Muslims. So like a lot of these kids grow up in classrooms with Muslims, you know, and that's their friends, and that's what they grew up with, that's what they're close with, and a lot of the ideology that's coming out of them is sympathetic to Palestinians. So it's funny how it could go like either way, you know what I mean? But generally speaking, a lot of Europe is Western Europe, especially Eastern Europe, doesn't have such an influx of Muslims, but Western Europe, they definitely have a lot of influence from the Islamic world because of the immigration. And so I think, you know, the Netherlands, Germany, France, there's so many Muslims there that they can't even, you know, that's why the French president, I think he was one of the first ones to acknowledge Palestine as his own country, as a state. And that's because, like, you know, what can you really do? You know, your whole next generation of kids is like either mixed, like some sort of Muslim in there. I mean, Muslim's not a race, you know what I mean? But different forms of Islam, the races that are Islamic, as opposed to supposed native French. These people aren't native French or German or Italian or whatever. But, you know, just for the sake of the discussion here, there's just so many Muslims of all shapes and sizes, but a lot of Syrians. Because, again, you had the Arab Spring in 2009 under Obama. They destabilized all North Africa and the Middle East. And so then from that point, I mean, they already had like a fragile situation going on out there. And from that point on, you have so many immigrants pouring into Europe. And, you know, a lot of them are Muslim. And so a lot of the kids, they have an anti-Israel sentiment. And it's really kind of like nothing you can do about the shit. So, I mean, worldwide, I think everybody's pretty much going through the same shit. I just be thinking like, I be kind of, not that I ever really feel sorry for anybody involved in a situation, because their ancestors bugged out. They need to talk to their ancestors about this shit. But, like when it comes to the Israel thing, they kind of had to pick a place over there somewhere. They couldn't be nowhere in the Americas to fake the funk. Because I was watching a UBTV video years ago, and he's talking about like these are the places that they could try to pass off as the biblical Israel, and there's only like a few places that they could try to even, you know, like Peru, like with Lake Titicaca or whatever, it being, you know, because it's like a salt sea nearby, and it doesn't really match the description, but Israel doesn't match the description, so they're not like they're really like that detail oriented. They just needed it to be somewhere not America to divert, you know, the attention and the identity or the identification of what a Jew is, or what, that, Israel or Israelites, what that is and where it's at. They couldn't do it anywhere in America, because that would just be like, okay, well, if y'all are fighting for this land, and, you know, we do more history research on this land and in this respect, like this is the real Israel. And then they were like, who's the real Israelites? And then we would already get down the line in those questions. We'd have got down the line in those questions a long time ago. We're already getting there for a lot of people. but we're not as far down the line as we would be if they would have had the fake Israel be somewhere in the Western Hemisphere. So they just had to like set up shop somewhere over there. That was like also, some sort of strategic positioning, and to create as much chaos and of like a black hole as possible. You know what I mean? But not that I feel sorry. I do feel like, damn, they really was like, all right, we'll act like we'll play dress up and act like we're the real Jews, and we'll go to this place and we'll act like it's the real place, the real old world, and just to divert the attention. You know what I mean? And that kind of lets you know that they're not in control. You know what I mean? As much as a lot of them think they are, and I think that's the perfect setup for anybody that wants to control someone or enslave someone, is to make them feel like they are in control. Like I always say, it's not slavery if you know you're enslaved. It stops beginning to be slavery as you continue to realize how enslaved you are. So, with that said, there's an Israel settlement expansion in East Jerusalem. They want to make 1,300 new settlements, and that's basically that's Palestine. East Jerusalem is Palestine. If you've ever been over there, you know that to the west is the occupied land, and more to the east is the so-called Palestinian territory. Trump was talking about no tax on Social Security for seniors. I mean, I don't know when or how. I don't even know if that's possible for them to do that, because I know Reagan made that a law in the 80s to where you would get taxed on your Social Security checks, and so obviously it was some sort of legislation that passed that into law to make that happen, and so I think that he'd have to pass something to make that happen. I don't know. It probably just seems like more rhetoric. Again, we'll believe it when we see it. 800,000 employees, government employees, have been furloughed basically, and they're working without pay, living off of 0% interest loans, and working at DoorDash. So, if you want to catch a flight right now, you're gonna have to get a guy. He just delivers somebody's In and Out right now, and or their Wiener Schnitzel or some shit, or their Whataburger, and he just came fresh out of there smelling like that shit. And, you know what I mean? And he rolled over and started quarterbacking your flight. You know what I mean? He was door dashing all morning. Now again, you can't be an air traffic controller unless you're under 30. You can't begin the training unless you're under 30, and they force you to retire in your early 50s. So these motherfuckers ain't, they're generally younger people because it's such a stressful job. They can't have no old heads in there. So like, this motherfucker was probably on a Lime scooter dropping off some Jack in the Crack, and now he's gonna go and be a field general for your flights right now. So that's where we at. You know what I mean? Because they can't pay their bills. That's the crazy thing. You making 80 to 160,000 a year, and then you miss a week of pay or a couple weeks of pay, and you fucking falling apart. It lets you know how bad shit really is, and it lets you know that there really is no ladder. You know what I mean? They're pulling the ladder up, like Fuentes said. They're pulling the ladder up with the AI. You know what I mean? So I think that it's just more signals of things getting crazy, but I think that they can't do it all at once. You know what I mean? They gotta squeeze and then let go a little bit, squeeze harder and then let go a little bit. Kind of like the flea theory, right? They put the flea in a jar, and then it gets used to jumping so high, and then you take it out the jar and it won't jump past that height. And that's kind of where we're at. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They keep talking about Trump running for a third term. I don't see that shit happening, honestly. I mean, he's already cooked. He already got swollen ankles and getting IVs, got makeup on his hand and shit because he getting IVs. I don't even think he wants to do it no more, to be totally real with you. The show is just tiresome probably at this point. But yeah. Yep. So then, was looking into some of the AI news. A major leap in video generation, Sora 2 now features realistic physics, lighting, and audio. Okay, that's Sora 2. Imagine when we get to Sora 10, where it's going to be at. I seen some AI videos today, bro, that, like, I had to watch that shit several times. Like, I feel like a boomer now. I be, like, watching shit. You know what I mean? I got to question every fucking dog video now. I seen a cat video my brother's baby mom sent me, and I was like, this shit look a little off. But it looked like grainy, like somebody shot it with an Android. I was like, but it looks like a little, like it was an intuitive, like, guess. It wasn't like I was like, oh, it's definitely AI. You know what I mean? And she sent me some other shit too, where I was like, this is crazy where we at. It reached a point where the AI is trying to look worse. Like, the shit was too crispy and Iron Man looking, like too Pixar Iron Man vibes. And that had to, like, reduce itself, like, you know, to like a less digital vibe to like a more Android, like, third world vibe. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. You know what I mean? Because most of the world is using Androids. You know, if you really break it down, most motherfuckers in Africa and different spots, they don't got iPhones, man. You know, there's people there with iPhones, but for the most part, you go to the third world or the less developed world, or, you know, they got them. I've been, you know, I lived in the third. I lived in Brazil. I lived in places that are kind of like second world, and people do have iPhones. I lived in Egypt. People had iPhones, but generally speaking, they had Androids. And I think, like, the AI is in a spot now where it's like, we can't be too clean because it won't look right. So you can only, you can only imagine where we'll be in a year or two. Because how many years has it even been? You know what I'm saying? Since they started getting AI up to speed like this with the prompts. Where it's like, you know, because I remember when I seen the first AI pictures and the hands was a little funny and the teeth was funny. That shit was spooky because it still looked real. You could kind of see the sweat on motherfuckers' forehead. Now it's like, this shit look like home movies. You know? You look at some AI shit, look like a home movie, yo. And, like, your grandma picked up her Android and recorded the shit. But, AI in healthcare, new models like Delphi 2M are advancing diagnostics, especially in echocardiography and disease progression prediction. I mean, they coming for your job, bro. You a nurse, you know what I mean? You what do they call the motherfuckers that do x-rays and all that? I forget. I used to bang this broad, her mom was that. But I forget what they call that. Radiographer, some shit, whatever. That all them jobs, they coming for you, bro. You know what I mean? A lot of these motherfuckers that went to school and school now, they're on a bridge to nowhere. OpenAI's GPT OSS Safeguard, a new open-weight safety reasoning model, was released to help developers implement explainable moderation and content classification. Explainable moderation and content classification from OpenAI. How much of the market does OpenAI control? I gotta look into that after I get done reading these pieces or whatever. But again, the whole thing, everything is pretty much classification, just the same way that they catalog trees and every plant and every insect. People are being cataloged, you know, as they genome the the human DNA. They're gonna pretty much classify everything down to the molecule or down to the atom. And it's it's just another way for bio warfare. And I think a lot of people are worried about like race specific bioweapons and stuff like that, but I think it's more so like epigenetics. Once you can classify everybody and you can kind of get the probability on everybody's epigenetics based on all the data you collect from their lifetime, because everybody's life is recorded now because we live in a Truman Show. At that point, they can interfere with your nervous system and your metabolic processes by just exposing you to different things. You know what I mean? Whether it's different ads or whatever they want to throw on your timeline, or however you They know that they can poke and prod you now based on, the probabilities of your epigenetic state, and is your genetic state. What that has, and all the data they've collected on like your habits and your traumas, and once they get those patterns kind of down pat, where they look at it like, okay, this is what mommy issues look like in this respect or whatever, and this daddy issues is like this. The person that has daddy issues this way, they have these habits and they do like this. It was already pretty classified, you know what I mean? But now it's they can track you in real time and update in real time, and adjust accordingly to manipulate people on a metabolic level, and that's metaphysical ultimately. So NVIDIA's Cosmos model. NVIDIA is expanding its synthetic world generation tools for robotics, enabling safer and more scalable AI training environments. So it's expanding its synthetic world generation tools for robotics. To me, that seems like they want to have an ability to train robots how to learn to interface with AI. To me, I mean, that's how maybe I'm too terminated out, but to me, that's what I think. I mean, as much as I know a lot of people like, we're going to be working with AI now, we're not going to get our jobs right there. We're just going to transition into AI jobs. I'm like, how many people they need for that? Ultimately, it's about a reduction of people, that are required. They want to reduce the amount of people required. AI-driven layoffs. Companies like Meta, Rivian, and NBC News are laying off workers, citing AI-driven automation and economic uncertainty as contributing factors. The latest stock market news. Like I said, the Fed reduced rates by 0.25%. And so now it brings the benchmark rate to 3.75. I thought it was 4.75. This move was intended to stimulate the economy amid global trade tensions. But the S&P, the NASDAQ, and Dow Jones are all down. And the tech stocks tumble. Meta down over 11% despite strong earnings due to concerns over aggressive AI-related spending. What the fuck does that actually mean? Aggressive AI-related spending. Does it mean like that Meta is investing so much in AI that like it's scaring people? Like, what does that actually mean? But anyway, Microsoft fell 3% for similar reasons, even after beating earnings. So their earnings are going up, which is crazy. But in the stocks, they're down some. But that's probably just more pumping and dumping. People are probably actually just manipulating the market. What would I take it as? Be honest. That's funny of me. NVIDIA milestone. Shares rose 3%, pushing its market cap past $5 trillion, making it the first company to reach that threshold. So NVIDIA is the wealthiest country on earth. Most people I know don't even know that. I knew that it was strong. I knew there was a big company, and I knew there was a big tech company, but I didn't know it was the most valuable company on earth. They have a $5 trillion company. First company to ever reach that threshold. That's wild. NVIDIA is a leading technology company known for its graphics processing units, or GPUs, and AI chips. It's controversial due to antitrust investigations, alleged review manipulation, and past acquisition attempts that raise regulatory concerns. Founded in '93 in Santa Clara, California. Best known for designing GPUs. So they use it for gaming, professional visualization, data centers, and AI applications. And then they go into all this shit that their products or whatever. It's a dominant force in AI with its chips powering everything from autonomous vehicles to large language models. And it's kind of like the same thing, man. Like you're dealing with a small fishbowl of people in there. You know what I mean? And I don't even think it's really more than one fish. It's like you look at the fish from different angles and it look like it's other fish in there. You ever look like in something and it kind of look like multiples in there, like because of the mirror effect? I don't even, you know what I mean? It's like kind of like I forget the company that was working with Ring. That was it was a basically CIA cut out like a proxy for the feds, and they had to separate from Ring, but they still basically work so intimately together that it's, Ring's not really separate from the government. So why is Nvidia controversial other than the fact that they're the fucking richest company on earth? Antitrust investigations. The U.S. Department of Justice launched an antitrust probe into Nvidia's dominance in AI chips because it was cornering the market. Nvidia controls over 90% of the data center GPU market. Yes, monopolistic. Review manipulations. So they're basically paying people or incentivizing people to leave positive reviews on their products or their programs. And then Nvidia proposed $40 billion to acquire ARM, a company called ARM, a key chip architecture company, and that was blocked because of antitrust concerns. And that's kind of just crazy at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, that's how like, there's, like, regulators in a sense, like, as much as I know a lot of people kind of want to accelerate the fucking breakdown of society and the reset, kind of lets you know that they're milking people to get as much energy out of them as possible, because it's just like a plant, like if you grow a weed plant, you can trim off a limb and then clone the limb. And then clone the clone and everything, and shit will grow back. Shit will just it'll sprout some more if you cut it at the right time. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, they don't want to just like crop us all at once. You know what I mean? They want to like squeeze people and get them to restore themselves a little bit, and then squeeze them back, and then put them in dire straits. So then, if they do manage to make it through, they're going to have to do some fantastical shit, and exhibitions of will have to happen. And they're going to break algorithms and create formulas and be so creative just to make it through that just gives them more to steal from. That's more substance to be stolen, you know what I mean? And more formulas to copy, and then also look out for it so they know how to suppress them and block them for the next person that wants to use that formula. So, I mean, yeah, you people would like, the fact that the government stepped in and blocked the monopoly, to where they couldn't corner the chip market. But at the same time, it's almost like they're like, wait, don't do that yet. Don't show that hand yet. We're going to act like there's separation of power here. So yeah, Nvidia faced lawsuits from regulators worldwide, especially after acquiring Mellanox Technologies, which raised questions about anti-competitive practices. Yep. It's reckless. But yeah, I seen that shit with Trump today, more bullshit out of Trump's mouth. I mean, I would like for them to call my bluff, you know what I mean? But I seen that Trump was saying they're going to do nuclear testing again. I would love to see that footage. Don't be saying that this shit blew up. We did this shit off the coast of Saipan somewhere, and just trust us, bro. We did. That's what that was. That loud sound or that flash, that was a nuke. We need to put a fucking GoPro on the nuke so we can see it the whole way down. We can't have just trust me, bro vibes out here, man. We really need to see this shit from all angles at this point. Just like I don't trust the moon landing, I don't trust any of the footage of nukes or any of the photos of nukes. It's all garbage so far. But it would be nice, you know what I mean? Because I seen Trump was saying that. But at the same time, I think so much of it, the timing of it, on one level, it gets the boomers being like, oh shit, yeah, oh, nukes is real. They told me in school to get under the desk if a nuke go off. That kind of shit kind of lets you know that nukes are kind of, come on, this is baloney. Like, you're going to tell kids and train kids to get under desks. If a nuke goes off, all the boomers was taught to do that. So, why wouldn't you tell them to fucking learn their last prayers? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to get under a desk. What's a desk going to do if you supposedly getting vaporized by hydrogen plasma? You know what I mean? Like, It doesn't really make sense. But that's what a lot of the boomers, they even hear of the talk of nukes. They're already in that place where they're like, oh shit, this might, this might be it for us. You know what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of it is that they always gotta they're always playing generational games and working with their base and the people that they have confidence with. And obviously they know, Israel knows they lost the youth, they lost the left, the far right was never with them, so they have like a small right center, in a certain generation. They don't have the youth at all, and so it's the same thing with every issue. They know like which generations will buy in or they can scare into something. So, and I think that a lot of people will buy into nukes across multiple generations. A lot of people have been sold that idea. You know what I mean? If they have nukes now, whatever. But they did not have them bitches in 1945. It doesn't make no sense, bro. Imagine if you were the only person on Earth with a gun, and then you just let some other dude next to you spend the next 5 years aggressively creating a gun. And that's what Russia did. How does that make any sense? If you have the monopoly on guns, why wouldn't you just be like, yo, you trying to make that gun over there, bro, I'm going to shoot you before you get there. Or at least I'm going to bang one off into your house so you know that I mean business. You know what I mean? So that's why I know nukes, man. If you look at any of the footage of nukes, it's garbage, bro. It's either miniature things that they're close up on like movies and they're blowing them up, or it's doctored photos. It looks like two photos, like they stitched some film together, and the photos look even worse than the film. And and then you also have to factor in the shit like with space. Like, they have augmented VR contact lenses where you can be where you're at right now. You put a contact lens in and you can interact with like a digital space, like a green screen area around you. So you one eye, you can see things within like a digital space around you, and you can interact with that shit, and you can see it or whatever with the one eye, and so you have like multiple video overlays where the people see you, they see you on a harness on a zero gravity plane, and then you have your augmented lens, and then they superimpose that shit that you're seeing in the augmented lens, like whether you're picking up an object, like how they would play with grapes and shit like that, and zero gravity, bro, throw the grapes in my mouth and all that type of shit. Like, that's just VR lenses and then having multiple screens layered. Just like how they've been doing Photoshop since the 1840s, at least since the 1840s. So if you look at space, it's not much different than any updated ideas of nukes or whatever. And we're talking about the shit that happened in New Mexico, the supposed nuke testings in New Mexico and stuff like that. Bro, why is the camera still around? The camera is not facing the explosion, it's facing like a house. And then like they just show the house blow up, but the camera don't blow up. And it's like, this shit supposedly blows up whole cities. How far away was the camera? And how does it have clarity if it had to be so far away and then so zoomed in? And then it's like, this was done in the 40s? And y'all had 4K cameras? Like, 4K black and white cameras? But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't buy none of it when it comes to nukes, you know what I mean? And I think it's the timing. On top, they get to, like, kind of scare everybody that bought in a long time ago. Because, again, the cornerstone of pale supremacy is nukes and space. Without that, Israel's done, for one. They have no defense, really. If that threat is gone, that you will get nuked, Egypt and them rolling on in there. They have still massive casualties from conventional weapons, but they'll take the region. They'll run the occupiers out. But there's that threat that they could just get blown up because Israel supposedly got hundreds of nukes. And I just think that that's just like one of the greatest lies of pale supremacy is that they can go to the fucking moon and leave this place and go get past the firmament, and then also that they can evaporate people like that. And I just think that it keeps, the geopolitical landscape what it is. Without that, everything would change. Like instantaneously, it would change. So when Trump says that, I just think a lot of it is because they want to scare their own people for one, and at the same time he was visiting with China's dictator, so it's like a flex on him / flex on Putin, but more so like also a flex on those people of those countries, So it's always baloney when it comes to that shit. I just don't buy it. I would love to see somebody unveil it if they really had it and they showed it and you could watch the shit in 4K from multiple angles and you could trust that this shit was like live feed and it wasn't bullshit or something. And I'm like, all right, yeah, they got high powered weapons, you know what I mean? But I do still feel like when Sodom and Gomorrah was getting destroyed, God's talking to Lot, and he's like, he's just talking about like the state of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's like, look, man, if there's this many faithful people in the city, I'll spare the city. And he's like, all right, it's not that many. All right, he's like, if there's this many faithful people, I'll spare the city. And then they still don't find that many. So then he gets the handful of people in Sodom and Gomorrah. That's all right, you know what I mean? And then, it's not many. He's like Lot, his daughters, and his wife. And then his wife is like, she questions the shit. And she ends up getting turned into what, a pillar of salt or something like that? She gets turned into stone, basically. I think that maybe even with some of the sculptures around the world it might be that, but that might be a stretch, but I don't put it, it's not out the question to me. But I think that what I'm getting at here is that if there's enough people in a place that are actually true to themselves and to the world, that place has a certain hedge of protection. Only if that place is totally absent of people of integrity could something catastrophic like that happen to where it would wipe out everybody, you know what I mean, or like the great majority. And you gotta think about, people survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki even, because it was a firebombing. It was not a nuke, man. You look at the firebombing of Tokyo, that is the biggest bombing of all time. Had the greatest amount of casualties and the greatest amount of destruction. And the photos from Tokyo, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki all look the same. And they were all done by the same bomber, same plane. So I don't buy it, not for a second. And that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, so that's like one of the big things, I guess, in the news. I guess keeping in line with the space thing, somebody was asking me about the comet. What's it called? 3-Eye Atlas. There's a movie called Coherence, man. It's a really good movie because I think, right, they saying that I've seen like conflicting reports, right? They say like today is the point when it will be like out of our system or something like that. But then I heard people. When I googled it or I looked on another AI, it was saying December 15th is when it will be at its closest point to the Earth. So I don't know. AI stay being funny, but supposedly it's a new comet that they just found, right? And I've heard people say that it's an artificial thing, that it generates its own light, that it's not really a comet and all this type of shit. I'm not gonna pretend to know. All I know is that there's a good movie called Coherence, and it looks like a B movie kind of, but it's a good movie, and it's about a comet, and they're all watching the comet, and the comet reaches a certain point, I guess, in visibility, and then in that phase, it gives everybody, the power goes out, and then like it gives everybody a chance to navigate parallel realities. So then they like got to interact with who they actually are, and they like, damn man, maybe there's an evil twin out there trying to get me in one of these parallels, and then like The one dude's like, what if you are the evil twin and you don't know it? You know? So, like, it's a pretty good movie. I don't want to spoil it because it's dope. And it's just, I think a lot of people just don't have patience for it because it doesn't look like a big budget movie, but it's a good movie. So, yeah, Coherence, I think, is a good flick that people should check out. You know what I mean? I watched a few movies recently because I was with people I kind of didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I'd be peopling and I'd be like, what do we do now? I really kind of want to just practice writing down some Hebrew and shit like that and some other nerdy shit, or like studying or reading like Black's Law or something. And it kind of will like isolate me from people because I'm constantly want to do shit like that. But when I'm around them, I kind of know what to do, but like watch shit, I guess. You know what I mean? It was cool that we built an awning when people was here. It's always nice, I feel like, to have an activity like that. You know. But, yeah, I watched The Long Walk, and I watched Weapons. And The Long Walk was alright. I feel, again, Stephen King movies, bro. He just don't know how to end them. The 90% of the movie, you be like, that's a pretty good movie, man. I actually can see this maybe being real. And in the last few scenes, you be like, I wish I didn't waste my time. But it was okay. The movie was straight. It seemed like everything that would happen in that scenario. I like near future movies. I like past movies. And that's why I would like to make a movie so I could, depict a different time period, like in a way that I feel like is more accurate. So I mean, I like near future flicks. Too far in the future is a lot of projection, that's propaganda like a motherfucker. Either way, movies is propaganda, but when they go into the far future, it's propaganda like a motherfucker. And a lot of the past shit is propaganda. Sometimes I like to watch it, just because I kind of just want to see what the mainstream narrative of the timeline is, and then I can kind of piece together some things sometimes, maybe. So yeah, I think it's I think the Long Walk's a decent movie, but it's not taking me anywhere really, even though it's a long walk. The acting's not bad. It's okay. It's not the best. It's okay. This movie's okay. Weapons was alright. That shit surprised me. You know what I mean? I've been thinking about doing like movie reviews too, but I don't really want to watch that many movies. That's the only thing, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to any type of fucking internet shit, I'd be like, yeah, the idea of being able to be stationary is kind of cool, you know what I mean? But I just don't feel like watching this many movies so I can be reviewing them. I think you gotta really like movies. I took a film class in college, and my brother was already into movies. He wanted to make movies and be in movies. So I always looked at shit kind of like through a director's lens. Like where it was like, I want to see how the movie's made. I watched the scene and I'm looking at it like, oh, that's how they shot that? More than watching the movie. I'm more so like, how'd they get the extras to do that? I'm not really giving a fuck kind of almost, because once you see a few movies, you kind of seen them all. Once you've seen thousands like me, you just want to make one, I think. And, yeah, I mean, that's what I really would like to do. Like I said, I'd really like to go back east and start working on this movie with my brother, you know what I mean? But he don't be having time. It's like I be having time, but I don't be having the space with him. And then when I have the space with him, I don't have the time. Or he don't have the time. The 3-Eye Atlas shit. I don't know. I've seen shit like where they say comments signify a new, a shift, a new change. You know what I mean? Like any kind of like luminary sign. I'm not gonna act like I know. When it comes to that type of shit, I'm not gonna pretend to know. We don't have like Methuselah level elders that have been around for 900 years that could tell us for sure, like, yo, I seen that shit 600 years ago. Last time that shit happened, this is what happened. We don't really have that. You know what I mean? We don't have no flood survivors like that. So like it's a tough time. You know what I mean? We're kind of all toddlers. Even our elders are kind of toddlers. You know, they're like big toddler. They're like 4-year-old. They're like preschool. And we kind of die before we can actually really, establish a certain level of knowledge, like exhibit it. You might know some shit, like conceptually, or like, through osmosis, or through like, you might be able to like pick up shit through lifetimes. But ultimately, we would want knowledge to implement it, apply it, experience it. You know what I mean? So then it's actually wisdom. It's actually you. The knowledge is like in motion. You know what I mean? It's active. It's activated. So I think that we're not even in that place to where we could reach that kind of potential to where we could really know shit, know certain shit. Certainly, I mean, there's like remnants everywhere. And that's why we have to really work together, because you can only really study so much. With the amount of distraction that we have, how much can you really study in a lifetime? You know, like you can study a lot. Don't get me wrong. You can, especially if you start off right. You start off building shit, growing shit. You know that you learning the periodic table real young, and you're interacting with the elements, and you actually like. It's like when I was talking to my father recently, we were talking about like the metric system and stuff like that. He knows all of the shit. He knows the whole imperial system and all the units of measurement, and all the metric system, and all the different ways to like convert the shit, because he worked on a farm as a child, because his dad owned a farm. And I just be like, damn, you just knowing that, you know it because you lived it. It's not like you had to go to a class and be like, this is what the metric system, this is how the metric system works. And it's like, this was a necessity for you to live and get money. Like, you looking at it totally differently. Like, if you're a welder and you're working with different metals, and you want to know like different alloys, like this metal plus this metal makes this metal, you know what I mean? Iron and carbon make steel or whatever. You know what I mean? If you're a blacksmith or whatever, if you're actually interacting with the shit, then you're really learning it, because you actually interact. It's not like armchair research, you know what I mean? And so with your lifetime, like, how much are you going to actually learn in that fashion? They say if you learn one thing fully, you learn everything. But I think that you can, once you learn something fully, it gives you kind of like the formula to learn another thing fully. I don't think you actually know it until you actually live it, And some people do have many hats, you know what I mean? I got a carpenter guy, he's like, phenomenal at welding, because he actually, put the time in on them things, but he don't know chemistry like his son. His son like a straight chemist. You know what I mean? So it's like they work together on the things that they know, and they pool their knowledge together, and and we would really have to really work together in such a fragmented state. Like, the need to work together, the necessity to work together it's imperative. I think if there's like a bunch of individuals that know themselves and all of that, and the world has a bunch of aboriginals or whatever around the world, and people are in a relatively original state, then it kind of seems like you don't have to work together. You know what I mean? Because y'all all know a lot. You've been like imbued with this shit. This shit has been installed in you. You didn't really have to like go out and find. You know what I mean? It's more so like inside of you. So I think it kind of puts you in a position to where you like, I don't really need to work with someone. I can, and it will make us stronger, but I don't really need to. And as people get fragmented, they definitely need to more and more. It's like you more and more dependent. Like we have a greater interdependence, with each other. But but the state of being fragmented makes it more difficult. So it's like a catch-22, Whereas like people kind of understand that they need others, but at the same time being fragmented, I think kind of makes people feel disjointed or separated to where they start feeding the vanity and envy and stuff, and start doing things to get like artificial individuation, to declare individuation by artificial like contrived means. So like, you know, like I think it's just the natural state of being fragmented. You know what I mean? But when you're whole or wholesome, I think then, you know, maybe you would take more risks. I don't know. Maybe you just like, well, I can do anything by myself. I kind of, you know what I mean? Like I'm not separate enough. I'm not fragmented and so separated from the original template of the creator. So, what do I really need anything but the creator for? You know. Whereas I think people at this point, you know, they know they need people, but then it kind of goes into like a bastardized way, like where they just like get in a relationship just because and codependency and daddy and mommy issues, and then like fake friends and frenemies and stuff, just because they be lonely, and that's what it like manifests as. You know, the relationship with others manifests in that respect. You know what I'm saying? And then yep, I seen you know, they said the Sudan crisis deepens. They've been talking about Darfur since I was a kid, though, man. Probably since my brother was a kid. 18 billion in government projects have been halted from the shutdown. So that's like roads and all kind of shit, probably. I know the national park up here is open. And that's great, because I think it's like $35 to get in, which is fucking ridiculous to pay somebody to walk into their yard that they pay taxes for, basically. Like, this is like our collective backyard, these national parks. They should just charge foreigners, bro. They should check your ID at the joint when you come in and be like, oh, you from America? You go in, this is your yard. We all pay for this. It's like a community garden. You come in from fucking Israel or somewhere else, you gotta pay your $35 to get up in this national park. This is not your yard. You gotta pay a tax. That's how it should be. Everybody pay all these taxes anyway. But yeah, I seen the parks was free to get into. When people was up here, we went to the park. It was a nice little winter wonderland. It had snowed up there a little bit, but the parks was just completely open. There was nobody manning it. It was kind of crazy. I think the private companies are still open, and like the hotels and stuff on the park, but I think the park rangers aren't there, so I wouldn't fuck around. I would not fuck around out there. Or maybe they are, but still there, and they're just not getting paid. Which just still, again, I wouldn't fuck around. Somebody not getting paid and having to spend 8 to 10 hours a day out there being your lifeline if you get lost or break a leg out there hiking or some dumb shit. It's crazy. Because a chick came out here, my girl Regina, my friend Regina, she came out here and she was like, I'm going on this hike out there. It's like through these lakes and shit. It's, I think she said like 11-hour hike. But she only did like the 8-hour loop because it was so much snow. And her feet got wet and everything. I was like, oh no. I ain't doing no 8 hours in no goddamn snow, unpaved paths and everything. 8 hours, bro. Like, it's different. I feel like you go to Germany and hike, or Switzerland or something. It's like, it'd be mad people on the path. The path is, the grooves are all there. America is kind of like, really, again, it's like free reign. Like I said, there's no history from 1540 to 1776 in a lot of the Southwest. You know? Shit was just wild. Shit was just murderous. Let me see what else. Let me see some of these comments y'all got, man. I'm going to look up here, see some of these headlines and get out of here. I know we coming up on this 1 hour mark anyway. Don't want to take up too much of your time. Jamaica woman is 141 healthy. I don't know. I've never been to Jamaica. My parents went to Jamaica. They said they had a good time. It's saying I got a questions notification, but it's not showing up. So. But yeah, man. I mean, generally speaking, man, when it comes to the online punditry, man, a lot of the shit I'm seeing is the same shit. It's the same fuckery right now. All the same characters, and they all complain about the same things, man. Supposedly you get $7,000 a post to post for Israel right now. That's crazy, bro. I'm about to make another account, see if I can come up a little bit. You know what I mean? Don't blame me, right? I just need a few posts. Let me get a few of them bitches off. If you see me making pro-Israel posts, just know. Yeah, no, I seen people again. They still talking about the Charlie Kirk shit, man. His bitch is a crazy. That bitch either never loved him, or she in on it. Ain't no other way. Ain't no other explanation. This shit is WWE. And I seen they said that some Egyptian mercenaries was in Utah that day. I don't know. I was smoke. I don't even. Man, that's crazy. It was smoking me like that. But yeah, Andrew Cuomo ordered all the deaths of the people in the nursing homes. You know what I mean? They basically suffocated all them people in the nursing homes, intubated them, and that's what drove the COVID hysteria. And they got the fake numbers to make people like, look, people are dying. He about to be the mayor of New York if the Israeli lobby has any say in it. Was the one guy's name Silwani or something? The Republican dude. Trump didn't endorse him, and it's like crazy, like because you would think they both Republicans that he would endorse him, but he like secretly backing Cuomo, even though in 2020 they was beefing, and he would. How you know this shit is just charades, man. This shit, they some thespians, bro. They some ugly ass thespians, and so yeah, they're afraid of the dude Mamdani. 1 in 5 New Yorkers is Muslim. 1 in 5 New Yorkers is Jewish. You know what I mean? And so it's only like 3 motherfuckers that's not Muslim or Jewish in New York. 3 out of 5. And I mean, it's still probably a lot of Chinese and Hindu and shit like that motherfuckers. So like, it's anybody out there, But they won't even back the Republican. The Republicans aren't even backing the Republican. They want to back Cuomo because they feel like he has a better chance of winning. And kind of just let you know, like they have no values. It's just like opportunistic or whatever they feel like doing today, and they just call it pragmatism. You know what I mean? The dude, the New York governor, was one of the main. That's crazy. They was smoking me like that. I'm sorry about that. My connection. I don't get it, but. Yeah, everybody was moving to Florida and Texas during COVID because the liberal governors were having the lockdowns, and they were using the lockdowns because they said all these people dying in the nursing homes. That was the bedrock of COVID. That was the foundation of it, the deaths in the nursing homes. And all the Republicans was like, Cuomo's a fucking idiot, Newsom's an idiot, da-da-da-da, moving to fucking Florida or whatever. I want to be in a red state, da-da-da. And that's what turned a lot of people red or reddish, you know what I mean? But now they're pro Cuomo just because they scared of Mamdani because he's not pro-Israel. I wouldn't even say he's anti-Israel. I would just say he's not pro-Israel. Yeah. Paul and my man Jake Shields do be having good posts though. I'm just looking at the X timeline right now for the last few minutes of this right now. Paul Warburg spent over a decade architecting the Federal Reserve with both public and secret meetings. His brother Max Warburg ran the German Federal Bank during World War II. Two brothers funded both sides of the deadliest war. Why do we pretend this is normal? I don't think the Warburgs were tiny hats, but I think they married that way, which kind of lets you know they was cryptos the whole time if they chose women like that. I seen J.D. Vance getting pressed. I'm kind of surprised he took questions. JD Vance was getting press. He went to Ole Miss and was talking at a Turning Point USA event. And it was like asking him about Palantir. They was asking him about Israel and everything. I'm surprised he even took questions candidly like that. But he still was trying, just being a fucking slime ball. And they were like, if you so pro-America first and you so pro-Christian, why'd you marry a Hindu? And I was just like, damn, I'm glad that he asked that. I'm surprised Fox even let this whole shit go down. But I'm that way with everything, man. Whenever I see people's mates, the people they select, Candace Owens, I'm like, you selected this dude? You crazy. I kind of can't follow you. This is nuts. I think that's the only reason I can even follow Fuentes is because they ain't with nobody. If he had somebody that like represented him, then I think it would make me be like, oh, even more. To be honest with you. I feel like when you look at people's mates, it exposes so much about their state of consciousness where you be like, you gonna make more of y'all. You know what I mean? And it's just, for generally speaking, as far as the voices, like Candace Owens should not be with that dude, but it is what it is. This AI shit is crazy. It reached another level. And then you just see people saying dumb shit like Benny Johnson's such a fucking dummy, man. It's such a squish Republican milquetoast fucking. He said we could pay off our entire national debt by banning non-citizens from welfare programs, strict enforceable work requirements for EBT, mass prosecute welfare fraud. Bruh, you was still not even, only 18 billion or 18 trillion out of the 38 trillion. That's still the average American's household debt. 18 trillion out of that 38 trillion. The other 20 trillion is like bloated government spending, money laundering, through foreign projects, military aid, you know what I mean? Like military budgets. Bruh, fucking and Medicare, Medicaid. It ain't no fucking EBT, man. That shit is a drop in a bucket. 100 billion a year, bro. What is the GDP? What is America's GDP right now? I think it's about 30 something trillion. What is it? $7.62 trillion. Why was I thinking 30 trillion? As the second quarter of the second. What is the? I want to know the quarter. I want to know the yearly GDP. Yeah, it is actually. The yearly GDP is 30.49 trillion. Bruh. United States annual GDP is 30.49 trillion, measured as a seasonally adjusted annual rate. This figure reflects the total value of all goods and services produced within the country over the year. Okay, so the country as a whole is making 30.5 trillion a year. Or 7.62 trillion each quarter. So we're talking about 1/10 of a trillion is food stamps. Yeah, mad people are abusing food stamps. Don't get me wrong. Mad people is abusing food stamps. There's way too many people on there than should be. You shouldn't have foreign motherfuckers on there. You shouldn't be able to come into the country like. I think because I was looking into marrying somebody from another country. When you do the the K1 visa, you got to show that you can provide for the person so much money each month for them to get a green card. Because you don't want them to be dependent. The government won't let them. But if a motherfucker walks across the border, they can get food stamps, which is crazy. That shit should end, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, getting rid of fucking EBT and welfare fraud, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket compared to like military spending and like money laundering. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even close, bro. 100 billion. 110 billion if you include WIC for the women, what's it called? Women something and children. It's for like, nursing mothers and new mothers and babies. It's like 7 billion a year, and I think it's like 99 billion a year for EBT. Not all of that shit gets dispersed to the people. It's like you gotta pay the people to manage, to collect all the data on people, run their names, and then, you know, approve them or don't approve them, and then facilitate the money getting dispersed. So people getting paid, and so it's not like all 106 billion of that shit is just going directly to other people's EBT cards. You know what I mean? And like the average person getting like $200 a month, $200 a month. You think that is what's fucking bankrupting the country? But it's a lot of people in that state of mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people. Like, I really do. It shows you the state of the economy more than like, yeah, obviously you'd want more of the population to have careers, not jobs, and be you know, working and being able to provide for themselves. You'd rather have less idle men. Yeah, for sure we want that, but things ain't that way. So, and then you don't have the breakdown of the family doesn't let families really take care of each other. So, and there's no incentive to create a family at this point. So with all people, you know, the government is their daddy. You know what I'm saying? So it's, what you mean? If you got rid of that shit, you're going to have a zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? Really. If you get rid of that shit, you're going to have some sort of like lightweight zombie apocalypse. In the cities. I think the rural areas would still be bad, but not as bad. You're going to have like, I seen somebody posted in the Facebook group up here that somebody went into their garage and stole a bunch of change or something. I was like, that's some meth head shit, bro. There's a lot of meth heads in the rural areas. And like, that's some meth head shit because they probably have some tools in there worth way more than the change. But they just thinking like, need this change and get some drugs and get a hot dog from 7-Eleven or something. It's crazy. You know, people are incentivized. I've seen somebody say, like, I know a family of illegals. They're nice people, but they get snapped and they work under the table. They don't pay taxes and they drive a Benz. You mad they driving a Benz, bro? First of all, it's the trend starts at the top, which is kind of like the bottom. The leaders, you know what I'm saying? The leaders of the country. If you have a whole Congress of thieves and liars, it's incentivizing people to be thieves and liars. What do you mean? If everybody was upright, it'd be like, oh damn, everybody not even lying around me. Shit, they gonna know I'm lying. But it's like everybody around them, they probably all lying. And then everybody fudging, they doing they bullshit on their taxes or whatever they got to do. Everybody's cutting every corner they can because the leadership, the people in positions of power, they all doing the same thing to exponential degrees. Yeah, people talking about there's going to be civil war in Britain. What they going to fight with? Motherfucking butter knives? You know what I mean? I've always wondering, like, what a civil war in some countries even look like. Ain't no guns out there. I seen when Nepal took over the country, I was like, oh shit, they got guns. I didn't even know they had guns out there. Because, you know, at one point I was in Nepal for a few weeks. It was a nice country. I didn't see no straps like that. It was like a military, like, controlled country. But they was all, like, really nice people, though. From what I remember, you know what I mean? I wouldn't really expect an overthrow to be like that, but it's kind of like when I was living in Egypt. They were saying, like, when they had the revolution and, like, from the Arab Spring in '09, that people just raided the armories. The police and the military started taking their uniforms off because they didn't want to be identified to the public as, you know, as part of the government. And so they was walking around in their drawers and shit, and then people raided the armories and started passing each other AKs and stuff. So, I mean, people will find a way if they really want to. And supposedly they gave the AKs back. After the revolution ended, supposedly they gave the AKs back. Which got me like, how'd they even know who had them? That's crazy. But that was also another staged overthrow of a government. That's how Twitter started. Twitter got big from the Arab Spring. They used the Twitter as a means to gather for protests and connect for the protests and stuff. And that's how Egypt got overthrown. And their currency got debased. And it's just because they're a neighbor of Israel. If Egypt was some other country, some other region, they would still be doing fine. Their currency used to be stronger. Yeah, I see right here. How the fuck does a foreigner who never had a real job walk around with massive security guards, preach communism, and is on the verge of taking over the financial capital of the world? Bro, the gold is underneath the Federal Reserve. Most of the world's gold is underneath the New York Federal Reserve. And you need robots to go in there and get that gold. It's like airtight to where if you try to go into the place where the gold is, you die. There's no air in that bitch. They got to get a robot to retrieve the gold. So like, yeah. Do you think the mayor is in control of anything? That's where it's hilarious. That's where I'd be like, yo, your pale supremacy is wow. You really think that who people vote for and all of this? You think that really matters? That's crazy to me. Especially after what has happened with Trump. The Zionism. I mean, just crazy, man. The failures and the letdowns. You would think like, do you really think that? You know what I mean? Do you really think voting is ever you gonna vote your way out of fascism? Said, I don't care who what did he say, Stalin? I think it was Stalin, right? It might have been Lenin. He was like, I don't care who casts the votes, I care who counts the votes. You know what I mean? But they've been manipulating perception too, to where people think, they think that they're gonna win and they don't even have to rig the election. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they have to do it, but then they strong arm it. But they know when they can strong arm it. They know when motherfuckers is weak and can't do nothing, and they just strong arm you. And then they know when times is like, you know what? Let's just make them think that they're winning, and rig the system that way. Yep. Man, every time I see an Alex Jones post, I be like, man, this is what lawsuits do to you. But it's kind of crazy, right? Like right after Halloween, I seen a bunch of chocolate bars and shit got recalled, though. I wouldn't eat no Halloween shit. I wouldn't eat it regardless, but ugh. I would definitely not eat it this year. But right after Halloween, right after that shit, you going at the Hallows Eve. Right at the fucking, what else has happened astrologically right now? Some other shit. When is this next Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde? Let's see. When is the next Mars retrograde? No. Mars retrograde is until January 2027. Some retrograde I feel like is happening soon though. I know Mercury is November 9th to November 29th, but I feel like there's other ones. What other planetary retrogrades are coming up? Several planetary retrogrades are coming up in late 2025. Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. Oh, the Uranus one. That's the one. That's the one I was thinking about. Because that's a bigger planet, and has more of an effect anyway. Neptune and Chiron or Chiron. Chiron, whatever. Mercury, November 9th, retrogrades in Sagittarius. Jupiter, November 11th. Damn, we're getting hit with the multiple joint. The multiple retrograde joint about to bang us up. Jupiter retrogrades November 11th in Gemini. So Jupiter is in serial killer mode. And then Saturn is currently retrograding in Pisces. The Jupiter one don't end till fucking Christmas Eve. Damn. Uranus retrograde is current until February 4th. We just can't get out. It's like Uranus been in Taurus for fucking my whole 20s. I feel like that shit was forever. How many years was that shit in there? For years, man. Can't wait to get a fresh Uranus flow. I always wonder what Uranus is as far as the body. You know what I mean? Joe. Mojo Joe. But yeah, I always wonder what Uranus is as far as the body, right? It's the only planet that goes opposite direction. I've heard people say it's not a planet, it's a bubble. But I think like all the luminaries is some sort of bubble, like some type of, what do they call it? When the water makes light. I'm going to call it like sonar luminescence. I forget what they call it. When a bubble collapses and makes light. Like repeatedly. That's what I feel like all the stars and wandering stars, also known as planets, are. But Neptune currently in retrograde in Pisces. I think every time Neptune goes in retrograde, you get old school music coming back, right? Because some music you just beat it to death, right? And then Neptune retrogrades and it should be new again. But that ends December 10th. And then the Chiron retrograde is also current, and that ends January 2nd. And that's in Aries. So, Mercury, expect delays. Jupiter, reevaluate goals and long-term plans. Saturn, challenges and responsibility and boundaries and long-term commitments. When does that one end? Okay, November 28th. In a month. Uranus, internal shifts in freedom, innovation, and rebellion. Give me some innovation and some motherfucking rebellion and freedom vibes. February 4th. God damn it. The shit goes backwards though, right? So if it's is it going into Aries or is it going into Gemini? I think it's going into Aries, right? Because the planet goes backwards. And Neptune, foggy thinking, spiritual introspection, and creative recharging. Yo, it's crazy how foggy my shit been. Big foggy energy. Like it was crazy. I guess it was that like kind of staticky. I was in a staticky stasis for a minute there when I had other people around me. But when I got back alone again, I was like, damn, my train of thought is crazy. I've been giving up too much of my will to the outside world. I'm like, I got things I want to do, and I'm thinking about getting them done, and I just like can't decide on which one I want to start next. That shit. It's wild. But it's funny getting up every day and then like watching my will and being like, okay, this is what we doing next. I be having like a plan in my head about shit I want to do, but then I'm like, oh, I guess this is where my will's at right here. My will is there though, so I'm gonna just do that shit right now. And yeah. So Chiron, deep healing work, especially around identity and past wounds. I am a past wound. How about that? So I need the collective to heal me. How about that? All right, one more little string of news things. Let's see what else, and then I'm going to sign off here because it's been an hour and 10. Yeah, okay. Kash Patel officially caught trying to block Tulsi Gabbard's investigation into foreign government's involvement in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Kash Patel, bro. It's crazy. My man perjured himself crazily. He lied in court. It was like, do you know Stu Peters? He was like, no, I never met the guy. He's like, you don't know Stu Peters? He's like, no, I never met him. Meanwhile, he was on his podcast like 9 times. That's the head of the FBI. Like, lying so brazenly like that is wild, yo. That's how you know they be like, fuck it. If they catch me, they catch me. I don't care. It won't matter. I'm in. They really don't care. They like, fuck your feelings. The White House has confirmed that FBI Director Kash Patel attempted to block 17 intelligence agencies overseen by DNI, Department of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, from investigating potential domestic or foreign accomplices in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yeah. What can you say, man? Kash Patel's not a good dude. Sorry. They're all scumbags, though, man. I seen Dan Bongino, right, the Deputy Director of FBI. They was asking him, like, and he is like the co-owner of Rumble, which makes me like sketchy about Rumble. And they asked him like what he cares most about. He was like defending Israel. I'm like, ain't you fucking like Italian and black? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's your main concern? Go live there. I don't get that. Go join the IDF and stand on the front line. Yeah, it says the Senate GOP and Democrats working on shutdown off-ramp for next week. I mean, maybe they will, man. They might pass that shit next week. It's still going to have like a little bit of a lag to get they pass the bill, then it'll be like a few days till the money gets dispersed. And, you know, they will have some back funds maybe. If it goes on a month and then you get your EBT, you probably will get double EBT. But, you know, it's all like a test. I guess everything kind of is a test ultimately. Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about the Arctic frost shit. And I just don't care. Because anybody that gets arrested, like I said, will be pardoned by the next administration. Because the whole Israel thing is going to destroy... I mean, they're going to be radioactive. Anybody that wants to run in 2028, it's just like the Kamala Harris effect. She say, like, I promise I'm going to do this. They're like, bitch, you've been in there for 4 years. You ain't get nothing done. Why would we hire you again? It could be nobody from this administration. It could be Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. Anybody's. Nah. I don't think you're going to have any groypers on board. So it's going to be tough for you. Everywhere you go, every event you have is going to be groypers everywhere. So I don't think they had to take Fuentes out. And that would just make it worse. So I don't even know what they could really do. And so I think no matter what they try to do in this minute, they're not going to deport as many people as they said they would. Not nearly enough to keep up with who came in the last 4 years. Maybe they are trying to make people deport themselves through, you know, cutting off the food stamps and stuff like that, but it won't be enough. And then, you know, you're just not going to get none of the promises, you know. So I don't think anybody would be animated or incentivized to go ahead and vote. Like, Biden was so bad, people was like, yeah, we're going to rush the polls and we're going to, you know, get Trump up in there. And then it's like he shit the bed so hard that I don't think in 2028 you're going to get anybody wanting to go out for J.D. Vance and Rubio. Anybody from this administration. It would have to be like Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene on a ticket maybe would animate some people. But I don't think you're going to get any animation from anybody from this current administration. They're radioactive. They're toxic. You know what I mean? And down ballot, everybody's going to get crushed. The only reason that they won in the House and the Senate is because people was showing up to vote for Trump, and then they went down ballot, and they was just voting Republican because Trump, off the strength of Trump. But with Trump not being able to run, and then is Marco Rubio and fucking J.D. Vance, two scumbags. One is just a hollow scumbag, and one is a true scumbag. You know what I mean? Marco Rubio. You know what I mean? They're both scumbags, though. So I mean, I don't really hard to separate them, but I don't think anybody would be really motivated to go out and move their body to go vote for them. So I think 2028. No matter what they do, they ain't gonna deport nobody really. They ain't really gonna get shit done. He walked the tariffs back. You're just gonna get more civil unrest, more of a crunching of society. What, gas is down like 20 cents. It's not a good administration, not a good look, man. So, anybody they arrest in this time, if they do get any arrests, they're just gonna get pardoned in 2028. So, and we'll be right back into it. You had more censorship under the Trump regime in 2020 than you have right now. All right, than you had in the latter days of Biden. Right now, you're getting censored again. You know what I mean? It's another wave of censorship coming. And, yeah. That's about it, man. I think that's about it. I don't really know what else to say for today. It's kind of cool doing it every day. I can just start up again tomorrow. So, see if there's any comments in this thing. We're looking good, man. Have a good night, everybody. Patreon.com/Taylor Durden.